We move into the final century of the names of Vishnu in Sri Vishnu Sahasranama. The first 5 names in the final century are of the word swasti. Svasti-da, swastikrit, swasti, swasti book. Swasti is a common word in Shastra and in common speech in Sanskrit. Yes, Sanskrit is still a spoken language. Swasti-rastu. It's saying to someone, may you be well. It's a greeting like that. Swasti means well-being, success, prosperity, luck, auspiciousness, good fortune. It can be said as a blessing. Here in Vishnu Sahasranama, the usage of the word as the name for Vishnu, most commentators take it to mean auspiciousness, mangalam, kalyanam. Baladev Vidyabhushan says that Svasti-da, this name, it's very easy to understand. Svasti, Svasti-da, he who gives swasti. So he who gives auspiciousness, prosperity, success, luck, welfare, all these things. Swasti can be understood, su-asti. Su means good, favorable, and asti gives the idea of let it be, as if a blessing. So swasti-da means who gives swasti, all that which is auspicious, desirable. We see commonly outside shops and outside the houses, especially of the merchant community, just like Marwaris in India, is a swastika. The swastika was misused by the Nazis of Germany as their symbol, but it is an ancient symbol of auspiciousness, not of the hatred which the Nazis fostered. So it's very common to see painted outside the doors, the front door of a shop or a house, especially of the merchant community, a swastika. And swastikas we'll see everywhere in Vedic culture. But I'm just saying in this regard, swastika with the words written in Hindi or Sanskrit script, Shubh Labh. Shubh means very similar to swasti, auspiciousness, good fortune. And Labh means monetary gain. That is considered auspiciousness by materialistic people. But Vishnu, Svasti-da, gives real auspiciousness. Here in this material world, we tend to think of good fortune as Janmaishvarya Shruta Shri. Well, that is in the materialistic definition. We find in Bhagavatam also, this is considered material good fortune. That is what you get if you do pious activities with the aim of enjoying this material world. One gets birth in a good family, born with a silver spoon in your mouth, wealth, good looks, intelligence, education, and attachment towards these things, desire for such worldly pleasures, frames the idea of auspiciousness as having the opportunity to enjoy such things, to enjoy sense gratification. However, this is not real auspiciousness. Rather, all these things cause bondage in material existence. So Svasti-da, Bhagavan, Vishnu, he blesses the devotees by directing their desire toward him. In this way, he gives them true auspiciousness. This is how the commentators, they explain this name. Parashara Bhatta says, Evan Mahan Mangalam Dadati iti Svasti-da. In this way, he gives great auspiciousness, which links this name with the previous name, Evam, thus, in this way. The previous name, Kapiravyaya. He protects the pleasure of enjoyment of his bliss for the liberated souls without decrease. That's Kapiravyaya. So, in this way, Svasti-da, he gives all auspiciousness. So I said in the previous name that the names connected to the Archiradi Marga finished there, but looks like I was wrong because it continues here. Sri V.V. Ramanujan, another commentator, a sub-commentator on Parashara Bhatta, he often backs up the explanations of Parashara Bhatta in Vishnu Sahasranama by adding a little extra commentary and giving quotations from the Divya Prabandhams. V.V. Ramanujan says that what is that supreme auspiciousness? He says it is Brahma Gyan, spiritual knowledge that ultimately leads to the bliss of Vaikuntha, that he alone can give. This is quite a contentious point, even within the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, because there are those who very much stress the role of Lakshmi in being the one who actually gives the mercy. Both of them, Lakshmi and Narayana, but that is stressed in the Tengalai section, that the role of Lakshmi is very much stressed. Quoting then, V.V. Ramanujan gives quotes from the Divya Prabandhams. I won't attempt to pronounce the Tamil or the Mani Pravala in which this is composed, but he refers to, here V.V. Ramanujan refers to Namarava, refers to Narayana as the ray of light that gives the supreme knowledge that leads to the bliss of moksha. And of course, here they're referring to moksha as the opportunity to enter the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, and serve the Supreme Lord, Narayana, eternally. Periyalava says, Bhagavan came to me as the Guru who gave me Brahmopadesh, spiritual knowledge based on the Vedas, and entered the seat of knowledge within me, in my mind, set his feet there, and in this way removed all the defects, deficiencies, and ignorance in my mind. Madhvacharya, while commentating on the first sutra of the Brahma Sutras, Atato Brahma Jignasa, says, Agyanam Gyanado Vishnu Gyaninam Mokshadascha Saha Anandadascha Muktanam Saeva Eko Janadana. He says that there cannot be any better auspiciousness than moksha. Agyanam Gyanado Vishnu. We are in ignorance, but Vishnu gives knowledge. And that knowledge leads to moksha. And that moksha, which is enjoyed by the muktas, that bliss of enjoyment in the liberated stage, that is given only by Janardana, Vishnu. And again, Madhvacharya quotes from another famous quote from Brahma Sutras, Anavriti Shabdat, Anavriti Shabdat, the last sutra in the Vedanta Sutras, that by giving, the idea is that by knowledge moksha is attained. We can see here an important difference between the Gaudiya Sampradaya and the other Vaishnava Sampradayas, in which the other Vaishnava Sampradayas put a lot of emphasis on spiritual knowledge for attaining moksha. And although their understanding of moksha is going to the spiritual world, it is a different emphasis to that of the Gauriyas, who don't deny going to the spiritual world, going back to Godhead, but who put more emphasis on prem, on pure love of Krishna. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. Shankara Acharya, the first commentator, known commentator in this Kali Yuga, says, Bhaktanam swasti mangalam dadati iti Svasti-da. Very simply means, who gives auspiciousness to his devotees is known as Svasti-da. We can see that throughout the Ramayana, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, in all these shastras in which Vishnu, Krishna, Ram, Bhakti is the central point, that again and again and again we see how Bhagavan brought all auspiciousness to his devotees. It's just the whole text of all these texts is simply replete with how he is favoring his devotees, bringing them all auspiciousness. So the name Svasti-da can be applied throughout Vishnu Sahasranama and throughout Ramayana, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, and throughout all of existence. He is Svasti-da, the giver of all auspiciousness. Bhagavatam states the same thing. We have Lord Shiva saying in the 4th canto, My dear Lord, this is Srila Prabhupada's translation. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the cause of all auspicious things and the destroyer of all the contamination of sin. Your lotus feet are the cause of all auspicious things. So there you go, Svasti-da. I therefore beg your Lordship to bless me by the association of your devotees who are completely purified by worshipping your lotus feet and who are so merciful upon the conditioned souls. I think that your real benediction will be to allow me to associate with such devotees. So here the insightful prayer is to Bhagavan, you give all auspiciousness and you destroy all the contamination of sin. So please, therefore, you give all auspicious things, so please give me the association of your devotees. That will be the best way you can give me, or anyone, auspiciousness, is to give me the association of your devotees. Satyadeva Vashishta gives an alternative explanation. He often gives explanations in names of Vishnu Sahasranama in terms of Bhagavan's working within this material world. So he gives the idea that Svasti-da means he gives all the necessities for the jivas who are in this material world to subsist within this material world. And in this way, he is Svasti-da. The next name is swastikrit, then swasti, swasti book, swasti-dakshinaha. Name 902, swastikrit. We've found in Vishnu Sahasranama several names with the suffix krit. Krit means who makes. We've already had bhutakrit, kritakrit. Well, actually, to say it properly, bhutakrit, kritakrita, satkrita, shishtakrit, kamakrit, yugadikrit, naika kamakrit, dharmakrit, kritantakrit, kshemakrit, brahmakrit, bhayakrit, priyakrit, and still there are to come after this yagyakrit, Yajnantakrit. And krit here in Vishnu Sahasranama also appears as a prefix several times, as in krita karma. So it's an important term. He is the doer. He is the doer. He is the one who makes. He is the one who affects things. So swastikrit means he does good. And this is particularly to the devotees. He does good, which is very similar to the previous name, Svasti-da. He gives auspiciousness to the devotees, or he makes auspiciousness, or does good for them. He is known as swastikrit because he makes a place for the devotees in his abode, an auspicious place. Definitely Vaikuntha is going to be good, so he gives a good place. Parashara Bhatta gives the understanding that he gives auspicious things. As we'll find in the next name, Svasti, he himself is all auspiciousness. So he gives himself. He gives all auspiciousness. He gives himself. And swasti-krit means that he makes for us that kind of attitude, or he helps us to form the mentality by which we can appreciate this auspiciousness. As the saying goes from the Bible, there's no use to throw pearls before a swine. Or Srila Prabhupada gives a similar example that you can give nice food like halava to a pig, but he won't be interested. He'll be interested in eating stool. So you may say that, well, why doesn't God take everyone to his abode? Well, not everyone wants to go. If they went there, the materialistic, demoniac people, if they went there, they'd say, what's going on? I don't want to be here. There's no meat-eating, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, cruelty. I don't want to be here. They'd prefer to go to their hellish life, to remain in that. They take pleasure in everything which is inauspicious. So Bhagavan gives us the process of performing devotional service to him by which we can purify our hearts and be able to appreciate Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is the means and the end, which another meaning of Svasti-da, Svasti-da, he gives all happiness by simply remembering him. So Svasti-da, swastikrit, he gives happiness by remembrance of him, and he also, matasmriti jnanam apohanam cha, from me, Krishna says, comes remembrance, forgetfulness. So the ability to remember him also comes from him, and he makes himself available to the liberated souls to enjoy him. Shankaracharya has explained this name to mean, Shankaracharya says that Svasti-da means he gives auspicious things to the devotees, and that he does things that are good for them, swasti-krit. So he makes this slight distinction there. Another commentator, Ananta Krishna Shastri, says that he who makes his devotee do good things, or he who engages his devotees in doing auspicious things, is swasti-krit. He gives the process of devotional service and then inspires devotees to take that up, and therefore he is swasti-krit. The very fact that we can ourselves be auspicious or take the advantage of auspiciousness is because he makes that arrangement. He makes auspiciousness. Just like, for one example, Ganga, the river Ganga is sacred among all rivers. He makes her sacred. By her contact with him, she, Ganga, becomes sacred. Now, those who are listening very carefully to this series of talks on Vishnu Sahasranama will have seen that in many earlier names which were preceded by krit or suffixed by krit, it can mean one who does or one who takes away. So swastikrit means one who makes auspiciousness, and it can also mean one who takes away all auspiciousness. So Baladev Vidyabhushan, he says that Svasti-da means he gives all auspiciousness to devotees, and swasti-krit means he destroys the prosperity, the auspiciousness, the good fortune of the non-devotees. When someone, due to some previous pious activities, gets a materially auspicious situation, they tend to, because they're not purified from the desire to enjoy this world, they tend to act in an impious way. And they go away from the path of dharma, which elevated them to a materially auspicious, so-called auspicious. Anything devoid of Krishna consciousness is not really auspicious. So they go up to an materially auspicious position, but then by the very nature of this material world, which is provided by Vishnu, he makes such an arrangement that people who will not like to remember him, who are committed to not remembering him, even though they may be materially pious, those who are looking for sense gratification, their ultimate gain for all the auspiciousness they gain, ultimately they have to remain in this world, which by nature is full of sorrow and fear and disturbance and tragedy. It's by its very nature inauspicious. So the prosperity, the auspiciousness, the good fortune of the non-devotees is destroyed by swastikrit, Vishnu. Actually, they destroy it by their own bad deeds. Purusha sukha dukhanam bhuktridve heturuchyate, as Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. But that is affected by the arrangement of swastikrit and Bhagavan Narayana. Name 903 is Swasti, he who is himself auspiciousness. Baladev Vidyabhushan gives this meaning. He himself is Swasti. He gives auspiciousness, he makes auspiciousness for his devotees, and he is the very form, the very meaning, the very embodiment of auspiciousness. All that is good. God is good. He is the source or very form of all auspiciousness. Both Shankaracharya and Parashar Bhatta explain it like this. He is the very source or form of all auspiciousness. Baladev Vidyabhushan also. It's clear to understand. His very nature is Satchidananda, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. There's no question of anything auspicious in him. Swasti is also used as a invocation of blessing. We find in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, upon beholding the Vishvarupa, the universal form of Krishna, that's described in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, describes what he sees to Krishna. And one of those verses, chapter 11, text 21, Amihi twang sura sangha vishanti, kechid bhita pranjalayo gurnanti, swastiti-uktva maharshi siddha sangha, stuvanti twang stutibi pushkalabihi. Srila Prabhupada's translation. All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. hosts of great sages and perfected beings crying are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns. Here Srila Prabhupada renders swasti as a blessing, all peace. So su means good, virtuous, auspicious, beautiful. Asti means it is, and thus swasti means success and is used in this way as a blessing or greeting. So just like be well or good luck. In this context here in the Gita, it suggests that the beings on higher planets who Arjuna is seeing and referring to, the beings from higher worlds were chanting the famous invocation for peace and auspiciousness that appears at the beginning of many Upanishads. Swastina Indro Vridhashrava Swastina Pusha Vishvavedaha Swastina Starkshyo Rishtanemi Swastino Brihaspatir Dadhatu Om Shantihi 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 Hari Om. A translation of this: Om, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, may we hear auspiciousness with our ears, may we see auspiciousness with our eyes, may we perform yagyas with steady, solid limbs, may we offer prayers, may we spend our lives employing these bodies in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om. May the glorious Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Monarch, grant auspiciousness to us. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the glorious deity of all the worlds, grant auspiciousness to us. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who holds the Sudarshan Chakra and rides on Garuda, grant auspiciousness to us. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Master, grant auspiciousness to us. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Peace, peace, peace. Sri V.V. Ramanujan gives several supports for Vishnu himself being swasti. He gives supporting quotes from the Divya Prabandham, but actually there are so many in the Divya Prabandham and practically unlimited within Shastra of how he himself is all auspicious. So I'll just give some translations that V.V. Ramanujan has offered. My eyes that have seen, well, translations of what he has given from the Divya Prabandhams. My eyes that have seen my sweet nectar will never move away from him and see anything else again. That which is auspicious or bliss is that from which the eyes cannot turn away. The mind does not move away, and the ears cannot be diverted from. The object of supreme bliss is all attractive and the best there can ever be. Radha Krishna, Shastri reminds us that Bhagavan is pavitranam pavitram, the purest of the pure, mangalanam cha mangalam, the most auspicious among the auspicious, and mangalam param, the supreme auspiciousness. These are well-known Vedic statements. He is the most pure among all that is pure. He is the divinity that makes everything that is divine, divine. He is the basis of all that is auspicious. He is the very form of all auspiciousness. He is Swasti. And there are similar names. We've had Shuchi, which means pure, Pavana, which means pure. So practically, Swasti is one of those names which links and with every single name in Vishnu Sahasranama. Everything about him is all auspicious. So all these names in Vishnu Sahasranama which describe his forms, qualities, pastimes, they're all indicative of his being swasti, all auspiciousness. Another meaning, he is sukha swarupi. He is the very form of bliss. Therefore, he is known as swasti. Happiness. When we say auspiciousness, what do we mean? We mean that which gives rise to our welfare, our benefit, our prosperity. Ultimately, it all leads to happiness. Happiness means in Krishna. So that is getting really to the heart of what it means. When we say auspiciousness, we may think, well, that's kind of nebulous term, but what's the essence of it? He is happiness himself. Therefore, he is Svasti-da. He can give happiness. Swasti-krit. He can make us happy. We have in the Vedanta Sutras, Anandamayo bhyasat. He is, by his very nature, bliss, bliss, and bliss. Yet another meaning is that swasti, he exists very well, everywhere. So his very existence is su asti. Su, good, asti is, so his very existence is all good. Satyasanda Tirtha gives a slightly different meaning, or a nuanced meaning. Su atyantamasti iti sakala desha kaleshu vartata iti swasti. He's always happy in the past, present, and future, in all places, in all circumstances. Therefore, he is swasti. Shantakaram bhujagashayanam padmanabham suresham vishvadharam gaganasadrisham meghavarnam shubhangam Lakshmi kantam kamalanayanam yogi bhidhyanagamyam vande Vishnu bhavabhayaharang sarvalokaikanatham Jayati janane vaso devaki janmavado yaduvara pareshat swaridhorbir asyan dharmam sthirachara vijana ghana susmita srimukena rajapura vanitanam vardhayan kamadevam Barhapi rang nartavaravapu karnayo karnikaram bibradvasa kanakakapishang vaijayantim chamalam randhran veno adharasudaya purayan gopa vrindayar vrindaranyam svapadaramanam pravishad gita kirtihi Shri Radhaya pranaya mahima kidrisho vanayaiva swadyo yenadbhuta madhurima Kidrisho vamadiyaha sokyang cha syamad anubhavata kidrishang veti lobhat tadbhavardhyasa majanisha chigarbha sindho harinduhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.